This Friday at midnight, Channel 33 of the Manhattan Neighborhood Network will air a surreal, experimental short film titled Tildroyd Swinton by filmmaker Jeffrey Brick. It's a strange moment for modern media. While the rest of the world's screens are locked behind paywalls and corporate algorithms, a major New York City cable provider is handing over airtime to an independent creator for free. This is only possible because of how we manage the electromagnetic spectrum. It is a strictly finite physical resource, a hidden layer of New York City real estate that is more heavily regulated than the land itself. Securing the broadcast slot for that film was the result of a century-long struggle. It involved decades of legal challenges and physical protests aimed at breaking the total control corporations once held over these frequencies. That friction eventually forced open two paths for local voices: the illegal bypass of pirate radio and the legal hack of public access television. To see how a film like Tildroyd Swinton can occupy this invisible real estate today, we have to look at the moments when the people of New York first began to fight back against the broadcasters. When Guglielmo Marconi tested his wireless telegraphy in New York Harbor in 1899, he began a chaotic, experimental era. Without federal oversight, anyone with a homemade transmitter could broadcast across the city. That changed with the Radio Acts of 1912 and 1927. The government began requiring licenses for every transmitter, effectively pushing amateur hobbyists off the most desirable bands of the spectrum. These new regulations allowed the Federal Radio Commission to assign the strongest signals to well-funded networks, turning the public's airwaves into a commercial megaphone. But in 1924, the city government launched WNYC. It was an early attempt to reclaim the airwaves, using the municipal budget to broadcast education and civic news under a public interest mandate. By the late 1920s, the Manhattan radio dial was crowded. Major networks, city-run stations, and federal regulators were all competing for a limited number of frequencies. Once the FCC and the corporations locked down the legal dial, New Yorkers who didn't fit the network mold realized they would have to find a way around the law to be heard. By the late 20th century, pirate radio began to surge. Neighborhoods that were priced out of the corporate FM used cheap imported transmitters to start their own unlicensed operations. In Flatbush, Brooklyn, Haitian Creole stations became essential lifelines, providing news and cultural connection to an immigrant community that the mainstream networks completely ignored. In Brooklyn, stations like WBAD broadcast hip-hop directly from local apartments, playing a constant game of hide-and-seek to stay one step ahead of FCC inspectors. Some pirates went even further. In 1987, Radio New York International broadcast from a ship anchored in international waters off Long Island, attempting to bypass U.S. broadcasting laws entirely. Pirate radio proved that the airwaves could be taken by force, but these stations were unstable. To find a permanent home for local voices, activists needed to find a legal way into the system. Instead of dodging regulators, a new wave of activists used the law itself. They lobbied the city to include public access clauses in the early cable franchise agreements for Manhattan. The strategy worked. In 1971, Manhattan's channels C and D launched, creating a permanent legal space where residents could broadcast their own content for free. The timing coincided with the release of the Sony Portapack. For the first time, people had a portable, affordable way to shoot their own video without a professional krill. Artists from the Fluxus movement immediately saw the potential. They used these channels to broadcast chaotic, anti-art performances that looked nothing like the polished shows on the commercial networks. Video artist Namjoon Paik viewed television as a manipulatable, interactive canvas. He used magnets and synthesizers to distort the broadcast signal into something sculptural. Working at WNET's TV lab, Paik produced Global Groove in 1973, a landmark broadcast proving public television could be a space for radical, non-commercial art. This openness expanded with Channel J in 1976. By allowing leased access, the station became a home for everything from adult entertainment to political dissent, completely dodging network censorship. By the end of the 1970s, the combination of portable cameras and legal access mandates had turned New York television into a democratic tool rather than just a corporate broadcast. Today, that legacy of defiance is built into the city's geography, with a dedicated public access network in every borough. That's MNN in Manhattan. Brick TV in Brooklyn, QPTV in Queens, BronxNet in the Bronx, and CMSI on Staten Island. Independent curators like Brian McLean of the Transparent Film Festival continue to use these networks as a platform for work that doesn't fit the commercial mainstream. When Jeffrey Brick's Tildroyd Swinton airs this Friday, it's using the same legal infrastructure that Namjoon Pike and the cable activists fought for 50 years ago. In a media landscape where every other screen is controlled by subscription fees and algorithmic trends, these local channels remain a rare, open sanctuary for free expression.